Hey everyone, and welcome to session 4 of the Revolution Mindset program. And today we're going to be looking at defining a revolutionary strategy. Now I'm going to check that everything is up and running. I'm just going to make sure this is feeding through to Facebook, which it is. That is absolutely excellent, and it is public so people can see it. That is absolutely wonderful. If you're tuned in, please say hi. Let me know you're here. Adele, thank you so much for being here every week. I really appreciate you putting in the time to invest in yourself here and in the practical workshops as well, and putting everything into practice. Anya, thank you so much for being here as well. It's really wonderful to see you. And as always, kick off this week's session, I want to know what your wins have been this week. What have you achieved between last session and this session? We had a full 7 days where we're working towards our goals, we're working towards our visions. What small wins have you achieved so we can celebrate them together in this space? Now, remember, we need to keep this momentum going. If we want to make 2023 the year for us, we want to make the next 52 weeks successful, we need to keep this momentum, reminding ourselves of those small wins, giving ourselves a pat on the back, and keeping that energy moving forward. So thank you so much for being here, Lakshmi. It is really wonderful to see you. And whilst I'm waiting for some achievements, some wins to come in, if you're tuned in, say hi, let me know you're here. It'd be wonderful to connect with you. I'm just going to tell you what is going to be covered in today's session. So what are we going to be looking at when we talk about strategy? First of all, we're going to be looking at the difference between planning and strategy, because they're two very different things. And many of us who think that we have a strategy, we have some way of moving forward, we don't have anything more than just a plan. We're then going to look at strategic thinking and the importance of, it's not about just having a strategy, but it's about adopting strategic thinking to help us move forward and make sure that we're hitting our goals and succeeding. And then finally, we're going to look at defining a strategy, which we're going to take into the putting it into practice workshop. We're going to look at two works, start to uncover our own strategy for whatever that goal, whatever our vision is, no matter how big, how small. We need a strategy in place if we're going to execute it and make that success happen. Brenda Lees, it's wonderful to see you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are tuning in now, I'm just waiting to hear for people's wins. What small wins, what small accomplishments, what small achievements have you made over the past week so we can celebrate them here together? So thank you so much for being here, Brenda Lees. And whilst we're waiting for those wins and those achievements, and a little bit of a lag on the comment, I also just want to remind you of our key learning from last week. So our key learning from last week was that our clarity and our vision is our light for moving through the darkness. So we talked about the importance of having a strong why. We talked about the importance of having a clear vision, because first of all, whatever we want, we need to create in our mind before we make it a reality. And when times get tough, when we met with challenges, when life throws shit at us, we really need to have that vision clear, because it's what pulls us out of it. It reminds us of what's important and why we are doing what we are doing. So that is what we covered last week. So has anybody shared any wins yet? So Adele is sharing her win. So she has shared that she's more focused and her gym routine is back on track. That's absolutely wonderful. We're going to share some confetti and celebrate that with you, Adele. So thank you so much for that. Any other wins that people want to share, let me know so we can celebrate them with you as we go through today's session. So great work, Adele. Keep that up, keep that routine going so you can keep the momentum moving forward. So a thought for today as we open up, and it's a quote by Winston Churchill that says, "Those who fail to plan, plan to fail." So it's important for us to have a plan in place, but not just any plan. It's important for us to do the strategic thinking behind that plan to help us get to where we want to be, to help us start to understand what challenges, obstacles we're going to face on the way so we can overcome them and we're ready and prepared to succeed. So that's the opening quote. So looking at planning versus strategy, what is the difference between the two? Do anybody who's tuned in, what thoughts come to mind? What ideas do you have? What wisdom do you have to share between the difference between planning and strategy? What is your understanding? I'm going to cover a couple of elements today just in this brief live, and then we're going to talk about this in more depth in the workshop straight after. So if you're new to these sessions, if you're just catching these briefly on the lives, we have this 20 to 30-minute live, and then we follow up with a putting it into practice workshop where we take our notebooks, our pens, and we sit there and we go through a number of different frameworks, a number of different exercises, mindfulness, meditations, frameworks, questions, models, to really start to put what we're learning into practice. So what is the difference between planning and strategy for anybody who is tuned in? Let me know your thoughts. So whilst those thoughts are coming through, and also I'm still waiting, Brenda Lees, Luchmi, Anya, you're tuned in. You must have achieved something over the past week. I want to hear from you so we can celebrate with you today. Let us know what you're achieving. So in planning, we tend to look at the start to finish. We see where we are, we see where we want to be, and we plan all these actions to get there. And our mindset is generally fixed on the start to finish. How do we get from here to where we want to be? If we're starting to adopt strategic thinking and start to look at strategy, it's the opposite way around. We start at the finish and we work our way backwards to the start. Because when we start at the finish, when we start to look at our vision, this is the importance of everything that we've covered in this first month. We've looked at our revolution statements, we've looked at our goals, how we mind hack our goals and prioritize the right goals. We've looked at how we can get a clear vision. This is all starting at the end, so we can start to work back. And when we start at that finish, we automatically remove all the obstacles and challenges that we have in place. We're putting ourselves in that place of achieving what we want to achieve. And by working backwards, we don't have those blocks and those obstacles we see when we're looking forward. So when we adopt a strategy, we start at the finish, from the finish to the start. Where when we're looking at planning, it's generally start to finish. Planning is all one path. So generally when we have a plan, we have a path. For example, you want to get back, Adele mentioned she's got a good gym routine. Her plan is to go to the gym. That's not really a strategy, it's just a plan. She wants to go back to the gym. She might say how many times a week she wants to go. That's a plan, that's one path. But maybe her goal is that she wants to get fit. Maybe her goal is she wants to increase her health and her fitness. When you start to look at a strategy, you start to look at multiple paths, multiple different ways, different options on getting to where you need to be. You start to check and do that reflection to see, is the gym actually the right path for me? If it is, start to think about what kind of workouts do I need to do at the gym? How many times a week is going to be suitable for my body? What types of workout, what parts of my body do I need to work on? That is then moving into that part of strategy. So strategy, we look at multiple different paths on how we get to where we want to be. When we look at planning, it's always about actions, to-dos, and rewards, which is absolutely fantastic. But when we have a plan, sometimes we can just jump into action mode and we take action after action after action after action, and then all of a sudden we're lost or we're going around in circles. We've not stopped to reflect and think about the actions and the effect and the consequences that those actions are having. And one of the theories and analogies I like to use behind this is Lego. When we were a kid, if you used to play with Lego, let me know. You've heard this before. When we have a plan or when we want to get somewhere and we're having a competition with our brothers or our friends with Lego, we want to build the tallest tower, we automatically, as kids, we go brick after brick after brick after brick after brick after brick after brick. We get so far and it falls down. This is the same with our plans. When we start to work and take action towards our goals, we are just building brick after brick after brick after brick. And eventually there's no stability, there's no foundations, it's going to topple. When we start to move into strategy, we think about how we can build the bricks, build a solid foundation at the bottom. We start to look at risks, we start to think about challenges, and we look at different milestones on that journey. So different points that are very important for us to get to first before we get to that bigger goal, that bigger vision. So really start to break it down when we start to look at strategy and strategic thinking. With a plan, it's very results-focused thinking. This is what I want to do. I'm going to take action. I'm going to get there. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want, which is great. It's good to have that motivation. It's good to have that determination to achieve something. But if we want to achieve it, we want to succeed, we need to move from that results-focused thinking into big picture thinking. We need to start to see the woods and not just the trees. We have to think of that big picture of where we want to get to and the impact and the effects of all the little actions we're going to take, all these milestones on the way, all the little pieces of the jigsaw, and how that comes together into one big picture. So those are some tips on the difference between planning and strategy. It's up to you to work out where you are on that and what you need to change and work on. We're going to cover a lot of this in the workshop, but this is just to get you thinking. I'm going to come back to the comments and let's see if there's anything else that anybody's shared. So we've got some wins coming in. This is wonderful. So Brenda Lees is saying, win, she launched my merchandise campaign, submitted digital artwork for copyright, expanded her network, and consistent with her self-care routine. That is amazing wins. That is some wonderful stuff. And I've seen your merchandise campaign. That's absolutely wonderful, Brenda Lees. I'm loving the design on the hoodies and the other stuff that you've put on there on the merchandise. It's absolutely fantastic. So let's celebrate that with a little bit of confetti for Brenda Lees. Absolutely wonderful work. Anya saying, I finished the ethics module and passed the mock-up exams. That's absolutely wonderful. I hope you're ready for our ethics exam in just a week's time. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. So great achievement there, Anya. Let's celebrate that as well. Let's hit some confetti. That's really, really fantastic of you. Priya is saying, congratulations to Anya. That's wonderful. Lakshmi is saying, my win for the week is the way I react to an unwanted situation. I don't let fear guide me. I let self-talk and focus on the solution. That's absolutely wonderful. Well done, Lakshmi, on not letting fear override you and take over. And let's celebrate that win there with some confetti. Absolutely wonderful coming through. Lots of congratulations. Keep it up and keep that momentum going. Every small win we need to reward ourselves for. We need to remind ourselves of the achievements that we're making to keep that momentum and that energy flowing. So if you do have any thoughts on the difference between planning and strategy that I've missed out here, please drop them in the comments box. I would love to bring your wisdom into this live session. And just moving on, I want to start to think about chess and success. So when we start to think about strategy, when we start to think about success, the best thing we can start to use as an analogy is the game of chess. And just like chess, there is no luck in success. There is only hard work and strategy. So chess is a wonderful game that we should learn how to play. We should practice because everything about chess is strategic. It's all about the moves that we make. There is no luck in that game whatsoever. The only little bit of luck is at the beginning to see who makes the first move. The rest of it is all down to your actions and how you move and respond to that of the other person. And we can start to look at that with life and starting to think that failing is like losing a game of chess. If we do fail, if we don't succeed, we only have ourselves to blame. And with chess, we have an opponent, but when you start to use chess in this analogy to success, your opponent is life. You don't know what move that opponent's going to make. You don't know how they're going to position their pieces, but you have the same pieces as them and you can position and respond accordingly to their game. And the beautiful thing about life is it isn't just one attempt that we have. We can play round after round after round. We can improve our skills, we can improve our ability, we can improve our strategy to start to eventually succeed and start to win those games of chess. So every attempt we make is like a game of chess. There's no luck involved. It's all hard work and strategy. So if you want to succeed, you have to be prepared to put in that hard work and that strategy. And I feel it's a lot of what people are missing these days. People are looking for fast, quick wins, to make quick money, to get to the quickest way possible to their dream, but there is no quick route. You have to put in hard work and you have to have a strategy. And that leads me on to this week's challenge, which is I challenge you to go out there and start playing a strategic game. So some suggestions I put on there is online chess or checkers. The reason why I've mentioned these two games in specific is because there's no luck involved with these games. They're purely down to how you move your pieces and how you play against the other player. There are other strategic games you can play, like Scrabble, poker would be another one, but there is an element of luck in that. If you think about Scrabble, it's very strategic. You've got to use a lot of your mind. It's a good game to play, but it is a lot of luck in terms of the letters that you get placed on your tiles. With chess, you have the same amount of pieces structured exactly the same as the other player, so you can build a strategy based on zero luck. So my challenge is, if you don't know how to play chess, go out and learn, but it's a really good game to get your mind thinking, to start to think strategically and understand that one move, how that can impact all these different consequences and different results from the other player. So learn how to play chess and it will help you adopt a strategic game. I'm going back to some stuff here. So Adele says action and showing up. Action and showing up is important for both a plan and a strategy. That is definitely worth bringing into here. Thank you so much, Adele. And Lakshmi saying thank you to Brenda Lees. I'm learning about the power of love. That's wonderful. That's really great that you're learning about that, Lakshmi. And feel free to share anything that you're learning with regards to the power of love. That's wonderful. Okay, so week challenge is start playing chess so you can start to learn how a strategy unfolds and how there is no luck involved. So how do we start to adopt strategic thinking? Now, it's not just about having a strategy in place. Some people think I've developed a plan, I've given some thought about this plan, and I'm going to call it a strategy now that I've started to understand some of the challenges, I've started understanding the obstacles, I have a backup plan, now I have a strategy in place. Now, that is not enough. If we really want to start to succeed, we need to adopt strategic thinking. And there's 6 key elements behind strategic thinking. There's other ones as well, but I'm just highlighting these if we want, and these are areas we can work on ourselves in order to start to get to that place where we think strategically. The first one, of course, is decision making. Strategic thinkers are very good at making decisions. How many of us today are very kind of maybe overwhelmed by the amount of information, overwhelmed about the different choices that we have out there, that sometimes we can get decision fatigue and it can be difficult for us to make a decision. Maybe we overanalyze or overthink, maybe we start to think too much. If we want to adopt strategic thinking, we need to think about the different options, think about decisions, but we need to become better at making them and not overthinking or overanalyzing and starting to make them a bit faster and a bit more clearer. Strategic thinkers are very good at prioritizing. They know what's important, when it's important, and they know when to let things go or to put a pin in things for later on. So we need to adopt the ability to be able to prioritize what's important. Sustainability, going back to what I mentioned earlier on, they're very good at building foundations, not just taking action after action after action, but actually building something that is going to last. It's going to survive when life comes along and hits us with some stuff. We're still going to stand because we built those important foundations. We built that sustainability and we know how. So when our tower topples a little bit, we just have to put in a little bit more pieces of the brickwork, made a little bit stronger at this part rather than starting from the bottom. So strategic thinkers are good at building sustainability. Innovation, they're good at thinking differently, bringing in new solutions, creating and harvesting an environment for new ideas. Innovation is a key part to strategic thinking. They're good at problem solving. So how are you with regards to problem solving? Are you good at breaking things down, understanding what's going on in that situation, rather than just jumping to solution or just jumping to trying to fix something? How much time do you take just to break that problem down and solve it to move forward? And then finally, the 6th one on there is resilience and flexibility. And this is a little bit different from sustainability. Resilience is in there with sustainability, but what the key point here is that flexibility, the ability to move and adapt with change and to remain unshaken or undisturbed by external factors that affect us in our life. So strategic thinkers adopt resilience and flexibility as well. So those are 6 key areas that we can work on, we can start to build on if we want to move into that area of strategic thinking. So Lakshmi is saying here, actually, I've been binge listening to Louise Hay about how love can improve any situation. Worth listening. That's wonderful, Lakshmi. A lot of people really talk about Louise Hay in the sessions and everything we do at Coaching Minds. So it's really wonderful for you to bring that in. Thank you for sharing that. So that is the strategic thinking. Now, strategic thinkers, if you think about all those qualities right there, there are also the qualities that make a leader. A leader needs to have those 6 qualities in order to become a strategic thinker, in order to lead success. But we don't always have to be leaders of an organization. We don't always have to be managers or senior managers in business. We need to become the leader of our life and the leader of our vision. So we need to use and build those 6 areas so we can lead our vision, we can lead our life, and we can start to work towards the goals and visions we want to achieve. So just put that in there for you to think about how you can start to become the leader of your life. And just this is the last one to come in. Has anybody got any thoughts? Because we're moving on to the end of this presentation, which is good. I'm going to finish on time, which is going to be fantastic. Give me a little bit, 5 minutes before we move into the putting into practice workshop. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or any wisdom they'd like to share on strategy? We're kind of getting sidetracked by Louise Hay here and love and healing. We're bringing it back to the topic of today. How are we thinking about strategy and planning? What do we have in place already? Let me know if you have a strategy. Do you have a strategy in place for getting to where you want to be? So Brenda Lee's here, going back to, so I'm just going to put a close to this conversation, but she's saying Louise Hay was the author I first read on the topic of love and healing. She is truly an inspiration. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Brenda Lee's. So go and check out Louise Hay if you're watching this on the replay. And if you are watching this on the replay, put your comments in the comments box. Let me know what your strategy that you have right now before I share this final big mindset shift. It's quite a small mind shift. It's quite a small thing we need to shift, but it will be big in the way that we perceive and start to look at strategy and goals. Any thoughts from anybody on planning and strategy? How do you plan? Do you have a strategy? Have you adopted strategic thinking? What areas that I shared there? So I'm just going to go back to these areas. If you're tuned in, welcome. It's great to see you here. Out of these 6 areas of strategic thinking, which areas do you need to work on? We can always improve, continuously develop. Do we need to become better decision makers? Do we need to stop overthinking, stop overanalyzing? Do we need to learn how to prioritize things a little bit better? Do we need to learn how to start to build sustainability and whatever it is we're working on? And these are all key, no matter how big or small. Whether you're building your own business, you need to have these 6 things in definitely. But if you're just got a small something that you're working on in terms of getting healthier, getting fitter, whether you just want to get a promotion in work, these skills will also help you get that promotion. No matter how big, how small your goal is, these 6 areas are important. So innovation, problem solving, resilience and flexibility. Which of these do you need to work on to start to adopt a better strategic thinking? So to come back, so Adele is saying here that I have a strategy for all my goals and intentions. That's absolutely wonderful. We're looking forward to hearing about this in our workshop in more detail. And Adele is saying I need to work on innovation. So innovation is an interesting one. The ability to create new ideas, to bring in new ideas, look at different things. And generally, one thing I really love about innovation is, for example, we're all here. We've got a lot of our coaches tuned in. We're in the coaching industry, the self-help industry. We can be very tied and very kind of narrow focused on what's working, what's not working in our industry. But in terms of innovation, you need to step outside of your own kind of industry, your own profession, and start to look at what's working in other industries that you can bring into this space to improve your service, to improve your business, to improve your organization, to improve what you do to clients. And one of the things I always say when you start to look at innovation, and this is really great, so we've got our coaches in, when you're thinking about selling your coaching service, when you're thinking about selling whatever product, whatever you are trying to sell to other people, we always are thinking about strategies. We're always adopting things from people who have walked paths. But one thing to change that shift, this is not what I'm going to be sharing a little bit later on, this is just coming right now, is to start to think about things that you are attracted to, things that you buy. So for example, if you've got an Apple, an iPhone, what is it about Apple and the iPhones that makes you buy the new version every time it comes out? Why are you buying from that business? If you're in Starbucks, how has Starbucks taken your money? What is it that Starbucks has got that's pulling you into that shop to buy their coffee or a donut to go with it, sit there, use their Wi-Fi? And what is it about Starbucks over the coffee shop on the corner or Caffè Nero or whatever other coffee chain you have wherever you are in the world? What is it about that specific product or that service that is attracting you? And then when you start to think about that, you can bring that innovation into your coaching business and start to think about how you can adopt similar approaches and similar principles from that organization to attract people to your service. So Adele, that was for you. You said you're working on innovation. You start to think about things that you like to buy and what is attracting you to buy that. Rather than I have a product, I need to sell it, or the people who sell it, think about something outside of your area. So Brenda Lee's saying, yes, I have my goal written and I have a master plan, like a project timeline. The key in the success is to understand that it is flexible, not set in stone, and life happens, I can adjust. So it's going to be interesting to see this plan, this master plan, Brenda Lee's. And again, that flexibility is really key. And to see if you've got a plan or a strategy in place. It's going to be really interesting because what I'm pulling together in the workshop, we're going to be going through the Doctor framework. So we've got the Doctor of Strategy, which looks at our direction. It looks at our organization. It looks at our I'm coming off the cuff here. It looks at, so it's DOCTOR. It's an anagram we're going to look at. We're going to go in detail, and we're going to go really looking at whether or not we have a strategy in place. So it'd be great to see you there. And you're saying I need to work on being constant with working on the goals and not get attracted to low-hanging fruits, but see further. That's wonderful, Anya. It's a really good understanding that you've come to here, to look at being consistent with working on the goals and not being attracted to the low-hanging fruit. Sometimes we just grab those low-hanging fruits because it's easier, rather than working and trying to reach those higher ones up in the tree. So Brenda Lee's going back. It's a direction, organization, cash as well, cash flow in and out. It looks at our tracking, how are we tracking that plan, tracking that progress. And then we have our overall evaluation, which is the second O. And the third R is refinement. How do we look to refine our strategy if there's some gaps and some things we may need to fix during the rest of that doctor framework? So that's what we're going to be looking at in detail in the workshop that is happening in 4 minutes time. So on that, it's going to lead me into this big mindset shift that we need to make in order to start to adopt strategic thinking. And that is to stop seeing goals as mountains to climb and start seeing them as fish to catch. Now, going back to the mountain, the reason why I say this is a lot of us associate goals, visions with climbing a mountain. We self-help industry, we hear it all the time by motivational speakers, you need to get to the top of that mountain. But the problem is that too many people in our day and age aren't seeing the mountain. They see where they're at, they see themselves on the floor, they see the top that they might there. You have people, foundations in companies thinking they deserve promotions and pay rises within 6 months of being there. You have people that are expecting to be in leadership positions after 2-3 years. This takes time, and you have to work to get it. So it's moving that shift from, actually, it's not just about climbing a mountain. Yes, there's different ways we can get to a mountain. We can get a helicopter, that will get us there quicker. We can walk, we can run halfway, take a cable car. There's many different options that we can get on a mountain, and we can start to look at plans to get up there, but it doesn't really help us building the strategy. It's quite straightforward. The point is, we have to, when we're looking at goals, we have to get up the mountain. We have to see the mountain. We have to put in the work to get up there. But if we were to start to looking at our goals as catching fish, it starts to help us really understand the importance of putting ourselves in the right environment, preparing ourselves correctly. A lot of work when it comes to fishing is all in the preparation. And when we're a strategic thinker and we're building something big, the preparation is very key. Making sure that we have the right resources, the right people to support us, the right systems, the right service, all that sort of stuff is all part of that preparation. And then it also brings in a very key element to success, which is patience. Too many of us, when we start to see the mountain as a goal, we start to run, we start to just rush, and we get tired. And actually, we look down, we've come, it's too far up, we give up. We want to come back down. If we start to look at fishing and start to see goals as fish to catch, we understand the importance of being patient, holding on to the rod, sitting by that fishing lake, sitting by the river, the sea, wherever you're catching your goals, and waiting for that bite, waiting for that opportunity. When that opportunity comes, you seize it and you pull it in. So when you start to look at goals as catching fish rather than running up mountains or flying up by helicopter mountains or however you want to get up there, you start to understand the importance of preparation, the importance of environment, and the importance of patience. And those are 3 key ingredients if you really want to succeed. And I'm not a fisher. It's just something I like to think fishing on in terms of changing that mindset, because there's more strategy involved with fishing than there is running up a mountain. So last thought I want to leave you with before we go into the workshop in 2 minutes time is a plan without a strategy will only lead us in circles. So if you don't have a strategy and plan, if you don't have regular points at which milestones you need to reach, regular points in which you're reflecting, regular points in which you need to look at what you need to amend and change to move and get progress, and you're not checking and building those foundations, there's a chance that we just keep going round in circles. We're taking action after action after action, like the Lego blocks, and it's just going to topple. We need to build strong foundations. We need to move slowly, and we need to be patient. And on that note, we're going to go into our workshop in a minute's time. Just give me a couple of minutes just to get the Zoom link. So bear with me. I'm going to jump off here. I've got to go onto the system, get the Zoom link up and running again, and I will be there. So just give a couple of minutes and wait for me to launch that, please. And we're going to start to look at how we can start to plan effectively. As I mentioned earlier on, we're going to look at the Doctor of Strategy, which is a framework with a number of 20 questions to ask about your plan to see if you've adopted it as a strategy. We're going to make our strategy clear, which is another framework. How do we start to make it clear? And then we're going to look at how we can begin to execute that strategy from today. So next week, we are going to be looking at setting healthy boundaries, the importance of setting healthy boundaries and how we can do that. A reminder that our vision board party is on Friday the 27th. That's this Friday. Join us, connect with us. I look forward to seeing you there. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. Bring your preparations, bring your board, bring the statements, the visions, the goals, pictures that are associated with them, everything we've covered in these 4 weeks. Bring them to that vision board party and let's put it all together on something that you can put in front of you, you can see daily to remind you what you're working towards. And if you've just joined, you're new to this, you can join me in my coaching room you can become a revolutioner. Join me in my coaching room, which is in the hub. I'm going to put that link in just a second when I come for any questions. But everything we do is in there, all the replays, all the accountability board, all the workshop replays are in there as well. It's a space where you can learn and take these sessions a lot deeper. So as I open up to the final slide, which is just questions, I'm going to put the hub link in there for anybody who's interested. So hub.coachingminds.co.uk. You can find my coaching room in there and you can join us in today's workshop where we're going to start to build a strategy for you. Because one of the problems that we have when we're starting to work on our personal development, it's nice to have these slides. It's nice for me to tell you this is what we need to do. This is going to help you, give you some ideas, share the wisdom amongst us. It's absolutely wonderful, but we need to put it into practice. If we're not doing anything with us, then we're not going to grow, we're not going to succeed. So I'll see you all in the workshop. I can see some really great stuff coming through here, some really good comments from Lisa, and she has a goal written, the project timeline. That's wonderful. She has an excellent strategy and really stuff coming through here. I don't climb the mountain, she goes through it, or she digs a tunnel. That's absolutely wonderful, Adele. Thank you for sharing that. Really fantastic stuff. So I'll see you all in the workshop in a couple of minutes. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing your achievements. There's been some really amazing wins this week. Keep up that momentum, keep that energy, and I'll see you inside our workshop. Thank you.